Championship Series, next on NBC.
Wow, Sparky. Look at that. Baseball.
The tradition is here. The memories are waiting. Next.
It is a cool, crisp 43-degree night in Detroit. There is a frost freeze advisory. Temperatures will drop to the low 30s. It will be a very nippy evening. And in about 20 minutes from now, Tiger Stadium will be rocking for Game 4 of the American League Championship Series. And the Tigers are back in it by virtue of Pat Sheridan's stunning home run. So the Twins now lead the best of 7, 2-1. Hi, everybody. I'm Marv Albert, and welcome to the continuation of our triple-header day of sports. Bob Costas and Tony Kubek will have the play-by-play later on. For the Twins, it will be left-hander Frank Viola. He was the first-game starter in Minneapolis, so he is going with only 3 days rest. For the Tigers, lefty Frank Tanana. He pitched a solid effort last Sunday in the division clincher over the Blue Jays, and with the left-hander going, Minnesota goes to Don Baylor as the designated hitter tonight. Well, this afternoon at Candlestick in San Francisco, in the game seen earlier here on NBC, the Giants knocked off the Cardinals by the score of 6-3, so the Giants now lead it 3-2. Bill McAtee has the recap.
On a windy afternoon at Candlestick, the Cardinals led twice early when Kevin Mitchell tied the game in the third with this home run to left, the 9th Giant home run of the series, tying the Cubs' LCS record. But then in the fourth, that's where the Giants broke it open. With no one out, Jose Uribe delivers this bases-loaded single to right off Bob Forsch. The Giants get 4 in the fourth, and then turned it over to reliever Joe Price, who shut the Cardinals down, giving up only 1 hit in 5 innings of relief. And the Giants win Game 5, 6-3.
Thanks, Bill. And for those of you who may have missed it, the word on the NFL strike talks is not good. Following some optimism earlier in the week, the talks were broken off this afternoon, and each side gave their reasons for the breakdown in talks.
We get close on a lot of them, but we get close and just get stagnant, and we just stay there. But the ones we're close on are, again, other items that you wouldn't consider to be deal breakers.
We were led to believe that if we took free agency off the table and worked within the current system, that we could reach agreement in other areas. Well, we did that on Wednesday. We actually made a proposal in which we would work within the current system of right of first refusal and draft choice compensation. The other areas have not fallen in place.
Now the question is, will the players, perhaps fed up with lack of progress and lack of income, make their return and cross the picket lines en masse? We'll be back with baseball. We'll be back to talk with yesterday's Motor City hero, a forgotten man, Pat Sheridan of Detroit.
Sheridan drives one to deep right, way back. It's on its way, and the Tigers have the lead.
Marv Albert back at Tiger Stadium, and the major topic of conversation coming off yesterday's 7-6 Detroit win over Minnesota is the man who hit the home run heard around the Motor City and the Twin Cities, Pat Sheridan, a forgotten player. But yesterday he connected with this dramatic 2-run 8th-inning homer to lead the Tigers over the Twins. When you consider you were hitting 9th, you were 5 for your last 68, you did not play throughout most of September, had to be a lot of frustration. What was going through your mind when bat made contact with baseball?
That was definitely the most high in my career, but I think just getting rid of some of the frustration I have had, the home run and maybe the frustration went inside the ball, went into the seats with it. So it was a high point in my career, and won the ball game. Hopefully the momentum switched back to our side.
All right, Pat, at the post-game news conference, and this is something that you mentioned you were unaccustomed to be the star of the news conference. You had this to say. You mentioned, I've never done this before. I guess I probably had a mediocre career. What has it been like for you personally since you hit the home run about 4:15 yesterday afternoon?
A lot of mass confusion. People congratulating me everywhere, and answering a lot of the same questions to a lot of different reporters. That took a lot of time, but it was a high for me. It's probably the highest thing I've done in baseball outside of my first major league hit.
Now, the ball landed in the upper deck in right field, area that you are familiar with. I understand that your mother-in-law has gone to games there as part of a senior citizens group. Is that true?
Well, she was not one of the senior citizens. She's a director of the senior citizens. I better correct that. So
you want to make that clear.
Yeah, I want to make sure that's definitely clear. But she sat in the front row on right field a few times, and then they switched over to right down on the line in upper deck. So it was a little bit of an omen. I don't know. Not trying to say I'm trying to hit my mother-in-law with the baseball or anything, but she sat out there a few games, and I was happy to hit it up there.
So from a 5 for 68 slump to playoff hero, but fame is fleeting. Pat Sheridan will not be in the starting lineup tonight because of the left-hander Frank Viola going for Minnesota. He's been replaced in right field by Larry Herndon. When we come back, our American League Championship Series pregame analyst Don Sutton will be joining us, and this American League Championship Series pregame show is brought to you by Taco Bell. Say hello to fresh, exciting taste. Just say hello, Taco Bell. And by McDonnell Douglas, giving America its money's worth in aerospace and information systems.
Right.
Welcome back to Tiger Stadium in Detroit, and we close in on game time. Now, throughout this American League Championship Series, we have been joined by Don Sutton of the California Angels, and Don has spotted some trends that have developed over the first 3 games.
So far, this 1987 American League Championship Series has seen some key contributions made by players unaccustomed to the limelight. In Game 2, Tim Laudner, batting 9th in the Twins lineup and lugging a 191 batting average for the season, delivered the game-winning RBI with a ringing 2-run double off Jack Morris. And in Game 3, another 9th-place hitter, Pat Sheridan, revived the Tigers' hopes with his 2-run homer in the bottom of the 8th. As a pitcher in postseason play, I've stood out there and seen a lot of unknowns become well-knowns with just one swing at a hanging fastball. Which brings us to Jeff Reardon. In Game 1 at the Metrodome, Reardon blew away the Tigers with his 90-plus mile-an-hour fastball. But yesterday in Tiger Stadium, same Reardon, same fastball, but an entirely different story. There's no doubt the Tiger hitters are getting a better look at the Reardon fastball from the Tiger Stadium background than they were in the dim lighting of the Metrodome. This poses a big decision for Tom Kelly in how and when to use his ace. The Twins manager has already decided to bypass Joe Niekro today and bring back his left-hander Frank Viola on just 3 days rest. Viola was touched up for 5 runs in Game 1, including this Kirk Gibson homer. And in games started on 3 days rest in the 1987 season, Viola averaged less than 5 innings per start. If there's a Game 7, the Twins pitcher, Frank Viola, on 3 days rest again. Thus far, Jack Morris's sole contribution has been as a pinch runner scoring the tying run ahead of Pat Sheridan's game-winning homer yesterday. But I think before this league championship series is all over, we're going to see him giving hitters right turn signals at home plate, as well as come on back directions from foul home runs.
And Jack Morris hoping to get another shot back at the Dome on Wednesday if there is a 6th game. And Don, what about the Twins? Was yesterday a killer loss, even though they're up 2-1?
Well, Marv, maybe it's because the memory of our loss in Game 5 in the 1986 LCS is still fresh, that I saw some similarities in the Twins game yesterday and our loss that Sunday afternoon. You remember, we only needed one strike to go to the World Series. We didn't get it. The Red Sox rebounded. They beat us in that game, took the wind out of our sails. We couldn't pump them back up. All of a sudden, we lost Game 6, Game 7, and they went to the World Series. Well, yesterday, the Twins had a 5-0 deficit that they overcame. The biggest comeback in a single LCS game. If they had won that game, they would have gone up 3-0. No one has ever lost after being ahead 3-0. So I think that probably the way they lost and the impact of the loss may have been greater than the loss itself.
And another factor, as you look at both the National and American League Championship Series, there's been a degree of showboating. For example, former Tiger Juan Berenguer annoyed some of his former teammates with some finger-pointing last Thursday, and also his overreaction on the mound.
Well, I think Juan is just an animated person, and I think it was genuine emotion. He apologized to Sparky Anderson later. Obviously, it would have been nice to get back at the Tigers who had traded him away, but I think it was just genuine open emotion.
And how about some of those strong statements made by Jeffrey Leonard of the Giants, plus the one flap-down home run trot, which has annoyed the Cardinals?
Well, that really makes no sense to me. It serves no useful purpose. You have to play these people again. In my mind, what you want to do if you're going to beat somebody is do it so quietly that they won't remember that it was you. And I think you also run the risk of alienating some of your teammates who are going to have to play other games with you, too.
All right, and we are just moments away from the start of play in Game 4 between the Tigers and the Twins here in Detroit. It'll be Frank Viola and Frank Tanana. Bob Costas and Tony Kubek will be along with all the play-by-play. I'm Marv Albert. Thanks for tuning in. Game 4 coming up following this NBC News Digest.
NBC Sports presents the 1987 American League Championship Series. It's the Minnesota Twins versus the Detroit Tigers. And it's brought to you by the Miller Brewing Company, sole sponsor of the U.S. Olympic Training Centers. By Pontiac, America's road car company. Pontiac, we build excitement. By McDonald's, it's a good time for the great taste. And by the Prudential, going above and beyond to meet your needs in insurance and other financial services. On a chilly night in the Motor City, a pair of left-handers are set to go. The veteran Frank Tanana for the Tigers. He was 15-10 this year. Frank Viola for the Twins, 17-10 during the regular season. Hi, everybody. Bob Costas with Tony Kubek. Welcome to Game 4. Tanana is well rested. It's been a week since his 1-0 masterpiece beat Jimmy Key and the Blue Jays and wrapped up the American League East. But the story for the Twins, Tom Kelly comes back with Viola on 3 days rest, bypassing Joe Niekro, who could have pitched this game. Viola worked on 3 days rest 3 times this year. On 2 of those 3 occasions, he was hit hard. The one time he did pitch well, Kelly took no chances with him and had him out of there before the 7th inning was over. Here is the Twins manager with Tony.
All right, thank you, Bobby. Tom, is there any words that you can describe the pressure and the emotions of postseason play that you've gone through thus far?
Well, Tony, it's been very, very exciting, and I don't know if we bargained for all this when we first signed on, but my first year to get to a division championship, then the championship series, and to have 3 ball games the way they've gone, it's been a lot of tough decisions, and like we talked about, it's a good way to break in and get it all over with, so maybe next time around it'll be a lot easier, but it is really some hard decisions to make over there, and I guess that's why the managers make big money.
Tom, you're in a situation now where Sparky is able to give his pitchers their regular rest all the way through in case it goes 7. You now are going to pitch some people, Viola, Blylev, and I'm assuming Straker again on just 3 days rest the rest of the way. Why?
Well, that's basically as deep as we go. Joe Niekro's had some problems, and he had an awful time last time out against Kansas City. We're afraid of the knuckleball not going over the plate and the catcher running back to the backstop. And Viola and Blyleven are our big horses, and we feel confident that they can get the job done for us. And Lester didn't pitch that much yesterday, so we feel we can bring him back. And they're our 3 best pitchers, and that's the way we're going to go.
Tommy, thank you so much. Good luck. We'll be back to Tiger Stadium in the starting lineups right after this.
If the weather holds right where it is, it'll certainly be bearable. But if it plummets down into the mid-30s, as they say it might, it's going to be a terribly difficult set of circumstances in which to play. 34-year-old Frank Tanana faces Gladden, Newman making his first appearance, Lombardozzi out, Puckett just 1 for 13, Gaetti, Baylor the DH, Brunansky, Herbeck, Gagne, and Laudner.
First time that Herbeck in the slump 2 postseason play thus far has been out of the cleanup spot. Defensively behind Frank Tanana, pretty much the same. Whitaker's had a little sore back, almost a late scratch. Man who could be very important, Bob, the man at third base, Tom Brookins. He is hitless so far. And with Tanana, an off-speed pitcher, 8 right-handed hitters in the lineup, all except Herbeck, his glove could become very important with a soft tosser out there.
And he's already made some good defensive plays in the series. One robbing Gladden in Game 1, and another yesterday, throwing Davidson out at the plate. Here is Gladden. And that one floats in there. If you haven't seen Frank Tanana in a few years, the fireballer is now a finesse guy. He could hum it in the 90s when he came up to the Angels as a 19-year-old in 1973. Quickly ahead 0-2. Tanana has never been a 20-game winner. His biggest season, 1976, when he won 19, but he's been a consistent winner. This year was the 6th time he's won 15 or better. Did it hit Gladden? It did. Well, Al Clark wants to check.
Back.
Oh, no. Here we go. An argument right off the bat, and here comes Tom Kelly.
This is going to sound wild, Bob, but did I hear a little click in one of our field mics right down by the screen? Is that an impossibility? Like, it almost sounded like a batting helmet, something hard, unless somebody tapped it down by the screen. Gladden sprung out of the batter's box so quickly that you'd almost have to take his word, but Al Clark very close also and may have felt it was a decoy. They're just asking Clark to ask another umpire. He does not have to. He said, I saw it myself. I don't need any help. No balls, 2 strikes was Gladden trying. Let's listen to this. See if we can hear a click. I don't know. Maybe it was my imagination. Didn't hear a thing. But he certainly is very confident the ball hit him.
And the 1-2 pitch.
Ow.
That hit him for sure. And Gladden says, all right, justice has been done. I'll take one just to prove a point.
Tanana, obviously, you talked about he is a soft tosser, trying to establish inside with the fastball. I had a chance to see the 162nd game of the year here in Detroit. Tanana threw a shutout against the Toronto Blue Jays. He struck out 9, Bob, and when I was charting the pitches, 8 of the strikeouts came with his fastball. He only got Garth Orge with a slow curve. So you think he is a junk baller, but he gets the fastball up there better than you think.
Switch hitter Al Newman hit just 221 overall, but 319 right-handed. The former Expo drops a bunt. Tanana's play is to first, score at 1-4 with Whitaker covering, and Gladden is at second with 1 out.
So Tom Kelly feels, right in the first inning, don't do it as frequently in the American League with the DH. It's in the littler ballparks. They are more big inning clubs as opposed to the National League, but apparently Kelly feels that Viola's going to give him a good outing, which is a little strange playing for 1 run this early because Reardon, Behringer, and Schatzinger were worked pretty hard yesterday. He may need somebody to help out at the end for Viola.
Puckett just 1 for 13 in the series. He had a big double in Game 1, quiet since then.
You've got to watch Gladden off second base. Now, off Tanana, tough to steal second because he's got a good move and a good delivery home. But Gladden may try and sneak into third.
In the dirt and blocked by Heath.
And that's the reason why. A lot of those slow curve balls, and if, like Randy Bush caught Jack Marsh, 1 look to home plate, Bush stole second and third 1 game already.
has his sign from Heath, and his 1-0 pitch to Puckett. 2-0 to Kirby, who hit .332 during the regular season with 28 homers and 99 RBIs.
His bat and Herbeck's especially have been struggling. Those are two very important weapons for this Twins team.
Herbeck's been dropped down to 7th against the lefty. 2-1. Tanana struggled for a while prior to the last couple of weeks of the season. Had about a half dozen terrible outings, and Sparky dropped him from the rotation for a bit. But in his last 3 starts, he's allowed only 1 earned run in his last 24 innings of work, including the 1-0 beauty to close the season. On 2-1. 3 balls and a strike.
Tanana, who will sink his fastball, come inside with a 4-seamer, change his speeds on the curve, and has an excellent straight change. After he hurt his arm after those big years with the Angels, he said, I had to start watching pitchers like Tommy John, Scotty McGregor, to learn how to pitch and use off-speed pitches.
Gladden at second, 1 out. And this ball is hit down the right field line. Herndon racing over near the 325 sign, makes the catch in foul ground, and Gladden tags and moves on to third.
Herndon playing on the bad knees, didn't cover a whole lot of ground in a hurry, but he's got a little tricky corner with that concrete and padded out there.
Now up steps Gaetti. Kelly's got him in the cleanup spot. And the numbers tell why. 3 of his 5 hits for extra bases.
Interesting to see now with speed on third base and Gladden, and a very aggressive third base coach and base runner. With Tanana, he's going to pitch from the windup, which will give him a longer lead in case he bounces a curveball. He's winding up.
And he strikes him with a strike. That third base coach is Rick Rennick. Wayne Terwilliger at first.
Rennick over from Montreal. He's one of the men, along with Bob Gebhardt, scouting the San Francisco Cardinals series. They got Reardon here. It was their recommendation that got Reardon with his ball club.
1-1. Baylor on deck. Gladden was hit by a pitch. Newman sacrificed him to second, and he moved over to third on the fly out by Puckett.
Tanana trying to look Gladden back. He kept creeping off because Brookins is playing very deep, giving him a lot of room at third.
This one is popped wide of first. Evans racing after it, and it's just in the seats. Herndon was over there too.
A lot of Tanana's strength, Bob, is to now be able to use both edges of the plate. When he first became somewhat of an off-speed pitcher, he had trouble getting the ball into right-handers. That's why he went at Gladden inside very hard to try and establish him there, make him look for it so he can go back away.
The 1-2 pitch is hit into shallow left. Trammell back. Gibson in. Allen wants it. And they're out of the inning. Bottom of the first at Tiger Stadium. And Sparky Anderson lines him up this way. Whitaker, Morrison rather than Madlock, who's still nursing the sore left hand. Gibson, Trammell, Herndon, who's been a very effective hitter in this series. Lemon, Evans, Brookins, and Heath.
One of the most solid defenses in the American League. Gladden's arm after the shoulder surgery much improved. You know what Puckett can do. Newman adds a lot of speed to the lineup. You know, the 24-man rosters these days. He's played short over 50 games, second base over 40 games. He played third 12 games when Gaetti was hurt. He even played the outfield. Plus, from the right side, he's hitting over 300 and got over 400 on base average.
Frank Viola was 17-10 during the regular season. His ERA of 2.90 was second in the league to Jimmy Key of Toronto who was at 2.76. And his home and road record pretty well paralleling that of his team. Although, as you see by the ERA, he pitched pretty well, whether it was at the Metrodome or away. 3 starts on 3 days rest. 1-1 with a no decision. Normally, if he were to pitch a complete game, he'd throw between 120 and 130 pitches. In the first game of this series, last Wednesday, he threw 95 pitches in 7 innings plus.
Pitching on 3 days rest at the American League, a little tougher, of course, than in the National League. Remember, you're pitching to 9 hitters, and if you add those extra at-bats in the American League, for a pitcher like him, it could add up to almost 4 more complete ball games.
And ball 1 to Whitaker, who's 3 for 11 in the series with 3 walks.
They did not like what Tanana did to Gladden.
Tanana did it twice. Gaetti in close at third, and Whitaker was pulling away as that one dropped in for a strike.
Frankie at one time a power pitcher, Frank Viola. A lot of fastballs, hard curve. Now he's got the great straight change. Changes speeds on his curveball. He usually has pretty good control. Interesting to see if they will swing at as many bad pitches off him as they did in the lighting conditions in the Dome. Remember, Detroit walked 7 times yesterday.
3-1 to Whitaker.
You get those poor lighting conditions, you've got to pull the trigger a little sooner. And one of the strengths of this Detroit ball club is its high on base average, which they did not have in games 1 and 2.
And he walks him. So Whitaker has done the leadoff man's job. He's been to the plate 15 times in the series, and he's reached base 7 with 3 hits and 4 walks.
He has a bad instep. The last 5 innings yesterday, his back was killing him. Talking about Whitaker's spark, he had to wait right till the last before he announced his lineup to see if New could make it. After a bunch of treatments, he said the back loosened up, so he started.
Here's Morrison, who came over from the Pirates during the season. Change floats in there for a strike. Now that Morrison is at the plate, Sparky has used all of his non-pitchers in the series, which stands 2-1 Minnesota, and the home team has won each of the first 3 games. Had him out in front, 0-2. Some felt Viola didn't throw enough curveballs in the first game. He had the good fastball, especially early, and the straight change, which is perhaps his most effective pitch. But maybe he didn't mix in enough curves.
Well, he's the kind of pitcher can go through the lineup once or twice and maybe power you, and then he's got to start showing the other stuff. Sooner or later, he's got to use all his pitches, as you said. There's the changeup. He's thrown a couple. Does look almost like a half screwball effect, running away from right-handed hitters. Tough man to get a lead off first base. And sometimes that helps the infielder. If you don't get those extra couple of steps to the left-hander, you can't pick up the double play.
2 balls and 2 strikes to Morrison. In that first game, Viola lasted 7 innings plus 2 hitters in the 8th, gave up 9 hits, 5 earned runs, and had a no decision as the Twins rallied to win after he left.
You know, if the Tigers don't win this game, they've got all but an impossible task. Not because they would have to win 3 in a row, but because they would have to win 2 of those 3 in Minnesota. So this, and Sparky says, we don't win this, we're not only in big trouble, we probably cannot win it.
On the other hand, if they do win it and even the series, Sparky's got his pitching in much better shape than Tom Kelly does. Not because he's outmaneuvered Kelly, but simply because he has greater depth than his starters. Kelly almost has no choice. He's really only 2 deep, Viola and Blyleven. Swing and a miss, strike 3.
Oh, he had a choice. He could have started Joe Niekro today, as Don Sutton said, and gotten Viola and the rest of the crew, Blyleven, back on their 4 days rest. What Tom Kelly thought about was, though, because this is a night game, he said he's got 3 days rest and 6 hours. And he really said this. If it would have been a day game today, I might not have started him. He had those extra hours, he felt. There's Joe Nika, who says his shoulder's just fine. He could pitch. Now, does 6 hours make that much difference? Tom Kelly seemed to think so.
If he took a very long nap. Gibson's 2 for 13 with a homer and 6 strikeouts. Ball 1. Just to clarify the point, yeah, Kelly had a choice, but he has really only 2 effective starters, Viola, Blyleven. Sparky's got 4. In Alexander, Morris, Terrell, and Tanana. Wrapped foul.
Gibson felt that he swung the bat a lot better yesterday. Didn't feel that he was trying to muscle everything. Didn't feel he had to force to try and get out in front and pull the fastball. Felt his hands were quicker. Let's see if it pays off. And he said he saw the ball much better yesterday as opposed to the first 2 days in Minnesota.
He jammed him, a little pop-up, and Gaetti will take it.
The place they tried to pitch him in the first 3 games, up and in, whether it's a right-handed pitcher or left. Big, strong guy like Gibson likes to get the hands and arms out. Most hitters do.
He purposely turned his back to the camera before venting his anger. He's wise to our game after we got in close on him in Game 2.
He asked me if we could institute a 7-second delay on our show sometimes when he comes in.
Strike 1 to Trammell.
Another bat that's struggling, Trammell.
Good play by Laudner. Trammell, one of several big hitters, waiting to bust loose, like his teammate Gibson and like Puckett and Herbeck of the Twins. Trammell's hallmark was consistency during the regular year. Almost never went into a slump. Had hitting streaks of 18 and 17.
He had a great September. Heck, he was over 400 the entire month.
Whitaker walked to open the inning. He's remained anchored at first as Morrison has struck out and Gibson has popped out. The changeup is hit toward the hole. Backhanded there by Gagne, who probably should not have thrown it, but no harm done. Infield hit for Trammell.
Give you an idea of the kind of ground that Greg Gagne does cover, unnoticed in this league. And of course, it was an off-speed pitch, so he could lean right off the bat. Won't hit that hard, but shows you the amount of range he has. And you're right, he shouldn't have thrown it, but it sure looked pretty, even though he didn't get it. A little bit off the end of the bat on the off-speed pitch. You know that, and you see the sign. You can lean, you can have a couple of steps to your right if you're a shortstop playing in the middle of the diamond. You get the better jump.
But with all the chances you handle at shortstop, 18 is not a terribly high error total. And Gagne makes a lot of plays. Herndon with 2 on and 2 out.
He's been jumping on first pitches.
Takes that one up and in. I asked Tom Kelly before the series, who, outside of the obvious guys, would be the fella you'd fear the most with the Tigers. He said Herndon has always given us trouble. Double and a single yesterday, each figuring in the scoring. 2-0. You see Lemon on deck.
Just starting to overthrow just a little bit. Trying to punch Herndon out, and he gets way in the hole. See Viola rubbing the ball down, talking to Joe Nieker. He said no umpire in the American League rubs the balls down better than Al Clark. He said he makes them so black that pitchers love the kind of baseballs, and if he gets a new bunch during the game, he'll send the kid back to rub them down again with that black dirt.
Is he swinging 3-0? Right down the middle, strike one.
These are the kinds of situations that Viola at one time was just fastball after fastball. Now, even 3-1, he has such confidence in that change, he is liable to throw it.
Whitaker at second, Trammell at first. Full count, and they'll be off on this one.
What he can get with that pitch is hitters get over anxious at times. They say, well, I'll drive the runs in. I'm looking for a fastball. He pulls the string to get them to swing at some bad pitches out of the strike zone because of over anxiety. Now, if you're Herndon, what do you look for? You just threw your 3-1 change, and your mind is really messed up right now. They're the kind of things that get me. The ball called on Les Straker, and you watch Viola on the mound, more of a veteran pitcher. And yeah, Straker, I guess, did balk imperceptibly, but another pitcher can stand up and rub his leg with his glove and do all kinds of silly things, and it's not a balk, although it is technically.
There go the runners. Here comes the pitch, and they're loaded for Lemon. Two walks and an infield single have Viola in hot water on a cold night.
Tom Kelly does have another net. In the event that Viola continues to stay in trouble, he can bring a right-hander, Keith Atherton in, who really did a good job for him. You just can't overuse him. And his philosophy, maybe if he gets in trouble early, gives up a few runs, maybe he would get him out and rest him for that final start if it goes 7.
Lemon 3 for 10 with a second game homer off Blyleven in the series. He's driven home 3 runs.
Herbeck sneaking behind the runner at first base, Herndon, then pitching from the stretch.
Ball 1. They wanted to check down at first, but Mike Riley says no, he didn't swing. Jim McKean is the ump at second, Joe Brinkman at third, right field line Drew Coble, left field Durwood Merrill, and as we told you, Al Clark calling balls and strikes. Gramis dances away, and the count evens at 1-1. Whitaker at third, Trammell at second, Herndon at first. In his 6th year with the Tigers, had some big years before that with the White Sox. Waiting on Viola's 1-1 pitch. Outside, 2-1.
When he tries to throw hard, he's riding his fastball way too high. When he tries to take a little off, it's running a little too much out of the strike. He has a very lively arm, throws hard. He's learned to pitch. And now Dick Such, pitching coach, and Kelly starting to converse a little bit in case he stays in hot water.
This ball is a broken bat rolling to short. It's a tough play. Gagne unloads high, and Lemon's safe. A run scores.
Has been questioned as to why he dives into first base because it doesn't seem as fast. You see right now a time when it works. If he comes in standing up, Herbeck slaps a tag on him. Maybe this way he can't come down and tag him. He was playing deeply. The ball squirts out of his glove. It's a little bit of a wet turf and cold, and the ball squirted out of his hands. But would have been close either way.
They rule it E6.
Ooh, that was a tough air to get.
Wow. Here's Evans with the bases still loaded. Nearly hit by the pitch. Without hitting the ball out of the infield, the Tigers have a run.
And Evans will take a base on ball. He'll make you throw strikes, as he did yesterday with 3 walks.
The 1-0 pitch. 2-0.
When he goes with the seams to try and run the fastball in or sink it, it's running right out of the strike zone. He's almost got too much movement.
Let's watch Lemon diving into first base to beat this one out.
Do you think the barrel of the bat may have fooled Gaetti and he didn't get a good job? We've talked during the series how agile Gaetti is. Goes better to his right.
So Gaetti might have been able to feel that, you're saying, in front of Gagne, and might have been an easier play for the third baseman.
Oh, yeah, he's got a 5-4 there and going right toward the ball. I don't know if the barrel disrupted him or not.
Viola's got to make this a good one on 2-0. And he does. Looked like Evans was looking fastball and just took that one, 2-1. And that's the confidence. Viola able to throw the change for a strike. On 2-0 with the bases loaded. Evans pulled away, but Clark says it got the corner. It's interesting that you said some of Viola's pitches seem to have almost too much movement. That's what you would expect if a guy had extra rest, not short rest. His 2-2 pitch. Full count.
You pitch on short days rest and you're not used to it. You indicated early just 3 times. If he is a little tired, perhaps the fastball's not as hard and it gives it more time to move more. And of course, you're pitching in a different rhythm when you're on 3 days rest as opposed to the regular 4. So right now he's struggling.
And the payoff is hit softly, but Gagne is there to make the catch. He threw him a change on 3-2. And Gagne records the final putout, but his error allows an unearned run. Baylor, Brunansky, and Herbeck in the Minnesota second. Tigers lead at 1-0. Baylor's first at-bat since his game-winning hit off Hernandez in Game 1. He wraps it up the middle. He now has a 12-game League Championship Series hitting streak. That's the American League record. In the National League, Pete Rose with the Reds and then the Phillies hit safely in 15 straight playoff games. This is the 6th league championship series in which Baylor has played. 2 with the Orioles, 2 with the Angels, last year with the Red Sox, and now from Minnesota.
And the kind of veteran hitter who can sit on a certain pitch, especially off-speed stuff off of Frank Tanana, and do something with it.
Brunansky has 4 hits, 3 of them doubles in the series. And the other a home run. Held by Evans, and this one is squibbed foul. There was a time, as baseball fans who follow these sorts of things closely know, a time when Baylor was quite a stolen base threat. He'd steal 40. One year he had better than 50, as I recall, but no more. What he is, however, is a terrific base runner, very smart base runner, and if he gets close to you at second base, he'll take you out.
Along with Hal McRae in his prime, 2 really complete DHs, if you can use that term. They stole bases for you, hit for average, hit home runs. The tendency for hitters right-handed against Tanana is to try and lean over the plate. Some even creep on the plate to take the outside corner away. But Tanana, after he worked out the mechanical problem with Billy Muffet, the pitching coach, has been able to get the fastball inside better over his last few starts.
Falls behind Brunansky, 3-1. Tanana is from Detroit, attended Catholic Central High School in this city, and now back home. He walks him.
Whoa, Frank standing with his hands on his hips. Can't believe that Al Clark didn't give him the pitch. Al Clark, like Drew Coble yesterday, rated 2 of the top ball and strike umpires, and wow, that looked kind of good, didn't it?
Especially the way, generally speaking, they're calling low strikes these days.
And Heath caught it well. Some catchers would have slapped down on the ball. He just kind of caressed it and brought it right back up.
Herbeck just 1 for 10. Had a second game homer off Jack Morris. During the regular season, he was the Twins' best hitter against Tiger pitching at .390 with 4 home runs in 12 games. Strike 1.
Frank Tanana is not just fastball changeup. He's fastballs and all kinds of different speeds down to his lowest speed changeup.
And he pops this one up. Evans calls for it. Infield fly rule is in effect as he makes the catch anyway.
They were waiting to see which way the ball was drifting, and they were all saying infield fly if fair, and then the wind kind of drifted. The wind's coming out of the northwest. Anything hit in the air, it would appear, would get a little boost to right field. Sometimes that can be deceiving in this ballpark with the way the wind swirls.
So Puckett and Herbeck, 2 of the 4 big guns, are now a combined 2 for 25 in the series. Meanwhile, the other 2, Gaetti and Brunansky, have hit well. Gagne takes a ball.
And with a veteran like Don Baylor down at second base, who's been through the wars and knows how to flash location, it'll take a little more time to flash the sides and get them straight between the catcher Heath and Tanana. An interesting thing just watching Baylor, decoy or not, but when the location was given, he took his left hand and pointed to his left out toward right field. The location was low and away. He's got a pattern, or is he decoying? doing anything this time. Comes inside.
And misses 3-0 to Gagne.
On just 2 pitches, not an indication. But when he pointed with his left hand, it was away. Did nothing. It was inside. If there's a persistent pattern, Heath is going to have a conference with Tanana to change something.
2 on, 1 out. And that one's in there. Baylor at second. Brunansky at first. And the 3-1 pitch is drilled to left, but Gibson is there. He fires towards second. No. Baylor gets back in time.
Rennick ran on Gibson's arm, Kirk Gibson's arm in Minnesota on a relay in the left field corner. Baylor looked like he had it. Was going too far, but then was able to get back. Looked like Gibson may have been battling some lights there, too. Ball hooked very hard and sunk.
Baylor thinks it has a chance to drop. Gagne hit it right on the nose. But Don still has time to get back. Laudner 1 for 7. That one hit was a big one. A 2-run double off Morris in game 2. Tanana steps off.
The action on Tanana's changeup looks almost like the Doyle Alexander, Frank Viola, and Les Straker, that circle change, the way it's just running away. Yeah, they're starting to worry a little bit as we look at the on-deck hitter, Dan Gladden, about Baylor flashing some signs. Keep taking so much time.
Now he goes back to work, and that's a strike. Laudner was a very promising hitter coming out of the minors. He hit 42 home runs one year at the AA level. There's no question that when he gets hold of one, he's a home run threat. He hit 16 this year, but he's never been able to make consistent contact with a batting average of 191. 2-1. 2 on, 2 out, and a 3-1 count to the number 9 hitter. Tanana has hit a man, walked another, and been behind on the count several times.
And you wonder if the cold weather, it's really not as windy as everybody thought it would have been, but down in the low 40s if they're having trouble with those field pitches, the changeups, and the slow curves.
And the bases are loaded for Gladden, who's already had a lot of big hits in this series.
Sooner or later, those kind of numbers are going to get you in trouble. You keep pitching from behind.
Gladden hit by a pitch to start the game. That's here with the bases loaded and 2 out. Strike 1 to him. In addition to the 4 hits, throw in 2 walks and the time he was hit by a pitch. And he has really done the leadoff man's job. 0-2.
Straight change and then a slop curve. First time up, he just tried to blow the ball inside to Gladden. That last at bat, throwing hard as he did, sets up those first 2 pitches this time at bat. He, like Doyle Alexander, makes a little bit of a living making hitters chase bad balls. and the Twins are a very, very free-swinging ball club.
The 0-2 pitch. He got him.
Stepped on the plate.
Which he did. So they leave the bases loaded. Baylor opened the inning with a hit, but couldn't advance past third, and we'll be back. Mr. Monahan in his box, and what does he order? Naturally. Did Henry Ford drive a Chevrolet? A Domino's pizza, please, for Mr. Monahan.
Wonder if it showed up on time. I guess he can afford it for a man who within the last month paid $1.6 million for a dining room set. Frank Lloyd Wright version. He's a real collector's man. You can order that pizza and pay for it. Beta Pinson had Tom Brookins early. Beta, they've lost their hitting instructor so much this year because his mom passed away a couple of weeks ago. Pops, Beta Sr. out in Oakland. He's a little bit ill, perhaps watching tonight, so Beta finally back to work with the hitters.
Strike one to Brookins. Tigers scored a run and left the bases loaded in the first. Twins had them loaded but came up empty in the top half of the second. 1-0 Detroit.
Well, Dick Sucks, I'm certain, the pitching coach, got there and talked a few things over Viola. Now he's down in the strike zone. He's over-adjusted just a little bit.
He pops this one up, looks playable. Laudner tosses the mask aside and makes the catch. Every time I see that play, I think of the story I heard about Lou Berberet, an old catcher for the Washington Senators who on a pop just like that, moved underneath it and tossed his glove aside and kept the mask.
Did he catch it?
Yeah, in the mask.
I set you up 3 straight games now.
After a season of grief, you owe it to me. Ball 1 to Heath. No, it's a strike. They checked down at first, and Mike Riley said he went around on it. Goes the bat, but the ball's in Laudner's glove.
2 pitchers tonight with outstanding off-speed stuff, both with good slow curves, both with good straight changes. Both have had trouble with their fastballs to this point. Tanana coming way inside to Gladden. Coyote's getting a workout down there, isn't he? And his dodgeball.
The 0-2 pitch is bounced to short. Gagne backhands and throws him out.
You can see how the rhythm of a shortstop just by the 2 plays. He's been charged with 1 error and that when he couldn't get the ball over his glove. But the rhythm is upset coming from artificial surface where the ball's quicker, it's bouncier, and you set your rhythm 81 games on that, and all of a sudden you got to change it for this, for playing on the road on a slow infield. And he didn't have a good grip on the ball.
Temperature at game time, 44 degrees, but not much wind. That's a ball. It was a whole lot colder here on the final weekend of the regular season than it feels right now. But they predicted that the temperatures would really dive as the night moved along.
A good fastball hitter, Lou Whitaker. Started him out with 2 breaking balls.
And fell behind 2-0. There's a swing and a miss, 2-1.
When the pitcher's pitching on 3 days rest, you'd like to have him have a few easy innings early if they could. Viola's had a pretty high pitch count already.
His 3-1 pitch. Got him out in front.
I can't remember Lou Whitaker swinging with 1 hand like that. Do you think that is a problem with the back? That he can't really get into the ball? His follow through is a little different.
He chops this one foul.
obviously would be a lot tougher with his back hitting against the left hand and getting at the breaking ball. Sometimes you get in the middle of your swing, you have to try and adjust a little bit. The ball moves right in front of you.
Two out, nobody on, 3-2 pitch. He's gone. That's the second strikeout for Viola. And after a rocky first, he sets him down in order the next time. We'll be right back after these messages from your local station. Game 4 of the 1987 American League Championship Series is brought to you by the Heartbeat of America, today's Chevy truck, and by MasterCard. Every time you choose MasterCard to make a purchase, we'll make a contribution to one of 6 worthy causes. As the Twins try and advance their cause on the third, they'll send up Newman, Puckett, and Gaetti.
Looks like a sellout tonight. Surprisingly, yesterday they had about 3,000 tickets left. The scalpers didn't do too well. They were giving them away, and then they were throwing them away.
Brookins in close at third. Newman sacrificed his first time up. One pitch to him. Popped it up. Brookins and Trammell on the left side. And Tom has it.
The way these two pitchers are going so far, even though their controls have been a little bit off, there have been a lot of balls off the end of the bat. We've seen 2 bats fly apart already. End of the bat on the fists. Don't use the middle 10 inches of the plate. When Tanana's been missing, he's been missing way out of the strike zone, not down the middle of the plate.
But when they've had their chances, the Twins haven't come through against them. They're 0 for 5 with men in scoring position already tonight. Puckett hits one to deep left on the first pitch, and Gibson watches it leave, so Kirby breaks loose. And he touches the dish. This one is tied.
He's been hitting a lot the opposite field. Even when he got some changeups, he gets a curveball, looked like it was down and in, and to show you how strong Kirby Puckett is, looked like almost all the way it was on the front foot, but he held the bat back and just hit it very smoothly and easily. It was a breaking ball. You can see the left knee and leg cock to generate more power, help him pull the ball, and, well, he's strong.
Is he ever strong? He hit one that was tape measured at 460 feet against the Red Sox this year, and last year at Yankee Stadium, as Gaetti hits one to center and Lemon's going to run it down. Last year at Yankee Stadium off Joe Niekro, who's now his teammate, he hit one into the monument section at Yankee Stadium.
Wes Gardner of the Red Sox remembers the 460 home run. Threw a couple high fastballs. He got by him, and he tried to do it again. He's the spark that makes it go. I mean, if he's hitting when Herbeck's in the cleanup spot, they have to pitch better to Herbeck. He's on base all the time. Similar situation with Gibson and Trammell. The 3-4 spots, they complement each other so.
Baylor has singles in his only 2 at-bats in the series. Last year in the playoffs for the Red Sox against the Angels, he hit .346. And he had a big 9th-inning home run in Game 5 off Mike Witt. People forget. That's what set the stage for Dave Henderson.
Got him.
Well, that's no surprise.
Tucked his shoulder right into it. Tanana can't believe it. I'm sure he's muttering to himself. He's seen it so many times. Why don't we just enforce the rule that's in the book? You've got to make an attempt to get out of the way. Now tell me this is an attempt to get out of the way.
If anything, it kind of turns into it.
You know, they've got a fella in Washington now, the commissioner of baseball, Peter Ueberroth is hired to codify the rule book, take out all the dead spots, the conflicts. He's put the entire rule book into a computer, and perhaps he'll meet with the rules committee during the offseason. He just tucks right into it. And if you're going to have rules in the book like that, you ought to call them, I guess, according to the letter of the rule.
He's been doing it year after year. Led the majors again this season, and he just keeps extending his career record, which is 255. He passed Ron Hunt for that dubious mark this season. Ball 1 to Brunansky.
Years ago, they would have called a pitcher like Frank Tanana a nibbler. Now they call him a painter.
A smash to third, but Brookins is in front of it. Goes for the force to Winnick. But the solo homer by Kirby Puckett has evened the issue as we head for the last half of the third. Few players are regarded with greater affection than Kirby Puckett by teammates and fans alike. Morrison in the last of the third takes a strike from Viola. There have now been 11 homers hit in this series, 6 by the Twins, 5 by the Tigers. The League Championship Series record is 13 in the 7-game set between the Red Sox and Angels last year. Gaetti comes in, tricky hop, he unloads and gets Morrison. Now that's the American League record. Interestingly, the National League record is also 13, and both of those occurred in 4-game series back when it was a best 3 of 5. In 71, the Giants and Pirates combined for 13 homers. Bob Robertson of Pittsburgh hit 3 of them in 1 game. And in 78, when the Dodgers beat the Phillies in 4, there were 13 homers hit.
8 of those home runs have come with nobody on base in this series so far.
Gibson popped out in the first. He takes a strike. The Giants and Cardinals have combined for 10 in the National League, 9 of them by San Francisco, as they take a 3-2 lead back to St. Louis. One and one with 1 out and nobody on.
His changeup is so good, and everybody knows Kirk Gibson can't have trouble with breaking balls and the fastball up and in. And many left-handers won't even throw the straight change to a Gibson. Why use that extra pitch? You might make a mistake, but he has so much confidence in it, Frank Viola. He just had Gibson way out in front.
2-2. Trammell next. Full count.
Gibson, I think, missed Veda Pinson more than anybody else. He was out the batting tee with him again early today before he took BP.
And Viola gets him for his 3rd strikeout and the 7th time in the series. Gibson is fanned.
Big swingers are streak hitters, and he gets in one of those streaks. He can be either very, very good or very, very bad. Veda Pinson just behind the man clad in orange.
Trammell had an infield hit in the first. Swing and a miss. You know, Gibson is acutely aware now of where that camera is. We can get him on a long shot at this angle, but the camera closest to the dugout is all the way at the other end, and he purposely goes and sits down next to Pinson as far away from the camera as he can get. Lazy fly to left. Gladden in. Perfect 3rd for Viola.
He's had an easy inning that he needed.
And now we'll take a look back at a very special Olympic moment. The crowd is just going berserk. Here's a midget with a toy bat standing in the box, and Swift looks at Kane, looks back at Goodell, and then addresses his pitcher and says, pitch him low.
Yeah. You know, there were only 3 people that knew about it. Another one's in the ballpark today. Bill Veeck, of course, the late Bill Veeck. Eddie Goodell is dead, died tragically. But Bob Fischel, now the executive vice president for the American League office, Dr. Bobby Brown, he and Veeck signed him to a contract in the car, and they said, be quiet. Since then, they've changed the rules. You've got to submit the contract for approval to the league office.
Herbeck, Gagne, and Laudner, the bottom of the order in the top of the 4th. An unearned run for Detroit in the 1st, a Puckett homer for the Twins in the 3rd. Ball 1. Tomorrow at 3 Eastern Time, Doyle Alexander for the Tigers. Bert Blyleven, we expect, for the Twins. In the air to left. Gibson barely has to move. And Herbeck is 1 for 12 in the series. I guess it's possible if the Twins win tonight that Tom Kelly could pitch Niekro tomorrow and figure, well, then I'll have Blyleven fully rested for Game 6.
At this point, he hasn't let on anybody. There's Les Straker, who pitched one of the games. Their 3rd starter who struggled yesterday, but at this point, he hasn't let on. He keeps saying Blyleven, Blyleven. Then he continues to say, why are they bugging me? I'm not going to change. He's finding out the media won't let him up.
Gagne lined hard to left his first time up. Fouls it off.
Frank Tanana now appears to be getting in the kind of groove that Frank Viola is. Viola's had 2 3-up, 3-down innings after he struggled with the 2 walks, carried by his shortstop in the 1st.
A changeup is hit in the air to left. Gibson starts back to the track, to the wall. It's gone. Second game in a row that Gagne is connected. Yesterday off Tero, tonight off Tanana. It's 2-1 Minnesota.
And he's found his personal hitting coach in Don Baylor. He says, yeah, Tony Oliva has some great theories. He's helped me. But some of the sessions that I've spent with Don Baylor have helped me an awful lot. Extra hitting practice yesterday, the day before on the off day, looked like he had a pretty good pitch. Changeup was down. He kept the bat back just like Kirby Puckett did. Not unusual for this pitching staff for Detroit to give up home runs though.
And he gets back the run. His error allowed. Here's Laudner.
Very comfortable park to hit, and if you can get it to left center or right center.
Just in the 4th game and closing in on the playoff record for combined home runs. 7 for the Twins now, 5 for Detroit.
9 with nobody aboard, which is typical of good pitchers who get hit by home runs, where there's Robin Roberts, Bert Blyleven this year, 34 solo home runs. Morris usually does it that way. Here it is, hit it. And around the plate.
3-0 pitch. He walks him. Tanana has walked 3 and hit 2 batters.
And he just a short conference halfway out, but that may start the bullpen going for Sparky Anderson. As he indicated before the ball game, if we don't win this baby, it may be impossible to win 2 in Minnesota.
We'll see what happens in the later innings. Petrie's getting up. Dan Petrie for the Tigers. And a ball in the dirt to Gladden. But so far, this is the least boisterous crowd of the 4 games. This is about as quiet as we felt it, either in Minnesota, where it was an absolute madhouse, or here yesterday, where they went nuts as the Tigers first went in front, then blew the lead, and ultimately came back on Sheridan's homer in the 8th.
And my head and ears needed at least a few days relief after those wild fans in Minnesota. Has there ever been that much excitement in the ballpark?
Oh, I imagine now and then, but it was up there. I wonder what it sounded like in the Polo Grounds when Bobby Thompson connected that day. One and two. One out, one on. And a bouncer to the left side. Brookins backs up. He gets the force, and that's all. So Lautner is exchanged for Gladden, and in that sense, the Twins come out ahead.
You know something I found incredible when you look through the numbers? The Minnesota Twins have won just 9 games on the road since the All-Star game. Does that sound impossible? It's there, black and white. It's hard to believe.
They played a game under 500 after the break, but of course 5 of those losses, all on the road, came in succession after they had clinched the division and had nothing to play for. Good spot for Gladden to run. Get in scoring position for Newman, and if he's thrown out, you get Newman, who has speed to lead off the next inning. Not going, check swing, bouncer to Brookins. That'll do it. But Gagney's homer has given the Twins the lead. And we go to the last half of the 4th at Tiger Stadium.
That he is recanted, because without this guy, there's 100 base on balls, 30-plus home runs at 40, high on base average. Tigers wouldn't be here.
Puckett, the starter in the 5th. He ditched the doldrums with a homer his last time up. He'd been 1 for 14 before that. And this one might drop in. Herndon can't get there. And now he botches the ball, and Puckett will be at least at second, maybe third. Here he goes. It'll be a single and 2-base error.
I don't think I've ever seen a base runner cut the bases as sharply as Kirby Puckett. I mean, he just squared him off so it gets hung up a little bit in the mush, and with the bad knees, that is the turf that is torn out after the celebration. Another big patch after the Sunday clincher. There are some guys maybe faster than he is, but he really turned it on and wasted little ground rounding the bag out in short right and short left.
The Tigers play the infield back for Gaetti. Puckett at third, nobody out. And this ball will get a run home. Puckett back to tag. Gibson in the gap. Makes the catch. There's no play. Kirby cruises home. It's 3-1.
Like one other ball earlier, Gagney's line drive that he got, and it looked like Baylor was going to be doubled off earlier in the ball game. It looked this time like Gibson lost something in the lights again. He starts in, and then he angles back to left center field. He wasn't going to throw Puckett out anyway, but the ball almost squirted out of his glove.
Baylor facing his old teammate from the '79 Western Division champion Angels. Baylor was the league's MVP that year.
And you can see a little bit of this. We talked about Puckett and Herbeck both in the slump coming into this ball game, so they move Herbeck out and put a hotter hitter, Gaetti, behind Puckett, and then Puckett gets a little bit better pitches, perhaps. Gaetti, and it'll show you what Tom Kelly's made of. He is not afraid to make moves that might hurt the egos of his ball club. He said, I tried it. Good part of the year, he said. I just stopped screwing around because I knew I couldn't please everybody.
Tanana's ahead of Baylor 1-2. And a fastball just misses inside. In that 1979 season, Tanana had one start in the playoffs, worked 5 innings against the Orioles. So he's not exactly new to postseason competition. Brookins will have time with Baylor, and he guns him down.
Remember the opening of the season, Sparky Anderson had Darnell Coles at third base off a big year last year. Coles. Really, there are 3 players who started the season not even in the organization anymore. Coles is one. Terry Harper started in left field for this ball club. He's gone. Rolando Mercado, one of the catchers.
1-0. 2-0.
During a regular season game, Sparky Anderson would go a long ways with Frank Tanana because his team produces runs. But when you're in the situation he is right now, down by a game, trailing by 2 runs, the possibility, if you want to go any further, you better start thinking of getting Petrie in there early with his strong right-handed hitting lineup. Petrie pitched very well out of the bullpen for a long stretch after struggling as a starter early.
He walks Brunansky on 4 pitches.
On the other hand, Sparky knows his bullpen has caused a lot of conflagrations.
Plus trouble. You wonder about the playing backgrounds of the 2 managers. Sparky spent 1 year in the majors. That's a strike to Herbeck. He committed himself. He hit .218 with the 1958 Phillies. And Kelly was up with the Twins for a cup of coffee in '75. Career minor leaguers who went on to become good managers. Sparky might rank among the all-time greats when all is said and done, and Kelly certainly appears to be a very promising young manager.
Both listen to old heads. Sparky still talks about Al Lopez, what he taught him. Lefty Phillips, Charlie Dressen.
Tanana dropping down on that one to Herbeck. 1-2. And of course, Ralph Houck has had quite an influence of late on Tom Kelly.
And on this man's team is Ralph Houck that brought the Trammels and Whitakers and Parishes and Morrises and Petries up. Ralph Houck, part of his team is what John McNamara won last year in the American League with the Red Sox. You know, I wonder if Herbeck isn't bothered by his injury more at bat than defensively. He's got that, it's like almost in the lower abdomen or something, and real deep near the left hip. He tries to stretch it. And not to make an excuse for him, but I think it's bothering him swinging a little bit.
Hit hard but foul. Is it possible that the Tigers are pitching Herbeck differently than they did during the regular season when he wore them out? Their advanced scout for this series, Boots Day, maybe he did a good job.
Could be. Usually old head pitchers like you got on the mound, they don't go with any one pattern or scouting reports. They're going to pitch their own game, what's working for them that particular day, what they've got out of the bullpen. I guess Tanana's throwing over. He may be throwing over thinking that they will send Brunansky, even though he's not a base stealer, because he's got Herbeck in a hole, 1 ball and 2 strikes. And if he gets thrown out, Herbeck gets a fresh start.
2-2. Herbeck is the only left-handed batter, Newman a switch hitter, in the lineup tonight. and thus just about the only guy Tanana drops down to the side against. Evans is standing by the bag as he flags it down, and now Herbeck is 1 for 13 in the series. But the Twins lead this game 3-1, trying to lead the series by the same margin. Last half of the 5th inning, Viola has retired 10 in a row. The only run against him was unearned on 2 walks, an infield single, and a Gagne error. And he's got a 3-1 lead as Brookins starts it in the last half of the 5th. Here's Gladden in left. 1 out.
Jumping on the first pitch like that, you know it was a good one. He's just trying to get ahead. You're giving him more and more of a chance to have easy innings.
Now it's Heath, who's 2 for 6 in the series. Those 2 hits were off Viola, a homer and a single in game 1.
11 in a row set down by Frank Viola. Might have been 12 if not for the error.
To Heath. In addition to the normal concern about working on 3 days rest, if that's not your usual.
One of the few pitches he's gotten up in a couple of innings, unless he wanted to throw it upstairs. Sparky had a long talk with Jim Morrison before the ball game. When they got him, he really didn't produce a lot, didn't get a chance to play because Madlock was swinging the bat well.
One of Gibson's 2 hits is a first-game homer off Viola. This would be Frank's 79th pitch. We're in the 5th. Tiger Stadium has come alive.
Notice he didn't give Gibson one of those sinking fastballs down low in the strike zone because he's a good low ball hitter. He went with a little more heat and tried to keep it belt high or above.
One and one. Is on deck. Whitaker at second, Morrison at first, 2 outs, last of the 5th. 3-1 Twins. Off-speed pitch, and he was out in front of it.
Gibson swinging at some bad pitches, isn't he? That ball almost would have hit him if he hadn't gone after it. No way he could have put that in play in fair territory high. As long as he keeps swinging at which he did in the first 2 games, they're going to keep throwing it to him. A big, strong guy like this wants to get himself out. He's doing you a favor.
Now Gibson steps out. Again. This isn't hit well, but it might be in there. Newman dives and can't get it. And worst of all for the Twins, it bounces away. So they have no play anywhere. Whitaker scores. Morrison goes to third.
Newman had a chance to keep that ball in the infield, not to make a play on Gibson, but to smother it so that the bases would be loaded.
The ball really
fool him off the bat. It was right where Viola wanted it. He shattered Gibson's bat,
but it had a very severe English that kept spinning, and the ball kept going away from Newman. And then it squibbed in the ground and got by. Watch the pitches right where he wants it. Out of the strike zone, up. Hits it up on the trademark, and Newman was frozen by it. It almost started like it was right at him, and then it kept curving away.
I thought for a second with Puckett playing very deep and with Gibson's speed, he might leg it to second on that one. As it is, they've given Trammell a chance to tie it. Or maybe more if he really gets hold of one.
These are the situations in Viola's past with a base hit like that, a little scribble when he made the perfect pitch, that would rattle him. And you could see just that first pitch. He tried to overthrow again and is out of the strike zone. That's where Laudner can come in to help him to cool him down. Overthrowing again.
2-0 with Herndon waiting next. Kelly reaches for a chaw. Viola reaching back for something extra. In the dirt. 3-0. Could be swinging, but that one wasn't good enough to take a rip at on the inside edge. 3-1.
Viola didn't let up. He had a little something out in case Trammell was. This guy's become a great pitcher, really. He's got a big out to get right now, though.
And they're loaded up.
It's interesting how he trusted his defense, throwing the sinker ball and changeup, and was getting ground ball outs, and as soon as the squib hit came, he went to the other fastball and away from the stuff that he was getting guys out with. And that's where I really think, and Laudner hasn't done it yet. There comes Dick Schutch. That's where you need a catcher to go out. When you see the squibber and you read that your pitcher may have been getting a little too emotional and want to blow hitters away, you can save a trip out.
All of this after 2 out. Whitaker walked. Morrison hit the ball hard through the left side. Gibson did not hit the ball well. Is that Atherton getting up?
Atherton, yes it is.
But Gibson got a hit on the ball that spun away from Newman, and a run scored. Now Trammell has walked to load the bases. He threw only 95 pitches in working into the 8th inning on Wednesday. He's up to 88, and we're here in the 5th.
He stopped trusting his defense and going with that sinker ball and changeup. He was going to get a strikeout all by himself, and I'm not blaming him for it. He wanted to take it on his own shoulders so there wouldn't be another squibber.
Herndon hurt the Twins yesterday.
4 walks given up by Viola.
Larry had a 2-run double and a single ahead of Sheridan's homer. Foul back.
He loves that first pitch, especially if it's a fastball. Herndon had a good first half, and he was important against left-handed pitchers for Sparky Anderson. Then he tailed off, started to come around again. Under the 2-base error out in right field by Herndon. He's got a chance to redeem himself.
It was Herndon's homer a week ago today that won the division as Tanana beat Jimmy Key 1-0. And in part-time duty, he hit .324 for Sparky. Two and one.
One of the things about being a veteran team as the Tigers are, as opposed to the youth and inexperience and postseason play of the Twins, you don't let leads rattle you. You don't get over anxious. You take bases on balls. And Sparky's kept that kind of mellow attitude with his team.
Coming down and said a couple things. Asked Al Clark where it was, outside or low, and Clark went to his left knee. Viola did, and Clark said below the knees, and he pointed. Had the outside corner, but too low.
Herndon steps out. That'll let the din build a little more. Morrison at third, Gibson at second, Trammell at first. 3-2 Twins. 2 out of the 3-1 pitch. Swing and a miss. Now, of course, everybody takes off. Trammell runs well. He might score all the way from first if Herndon delivers an extra base hit.
Morrison at third won't leave too soon. He doesn't want to get any vision or disrupt Morrison, or rather Herndon's concentration.
Ripped right into Gaetti's glove. That ball was scorched. They score one and leave them loaded.
A lot of guys might have played closer. It might have sneaked through. What a weird inning that was. Gibson barely gets one to the outfield grass as Squibber, and there's a bullet, and it's an out.
Gagne has hit the ball hard twice, lining to left and homering. And a strike. And here's another shot in for possible extra bases. He rounds first as Gibson fields it. They know he doesn't have a strong arm. It's a double.
If you don't like Greg Gagne as a baseball player, you don't like anything. Even when he's not hitting, he's so aggressive. He made that like Pete Rose made those 40 double seasons right out of the batter's box. He knew Gibson had not only a weak throwing arm, it was to his glove side. He had a pirouette all the way around, but he burst out of the batter's box and thought double right from that first step. Look at how he rounds it off, takes up a little room going to first base so he could have a beeline from first to second. Laudner might be bunting, excuse me.
He's not. He takes a ball, trying to add to a 3-2 lead. The Twins have a man at second with nobody out.
He's going to try and shoot the ball the other way. And so many times a man like Laudner, who is basically a pull hitter, knowing he has trouble hitting the ball right field, will push the ball or bunt on his own.
1-1. 3 runs, 5 hits, and an error for the Twins. 2-3-1 for the Tigers. Petrie in the bullpen. Key man as a starter in 1984 when they won the world title. He's had injury problems since. Off-speed pitch bounces away from Heath, and Gagne's taken off. He's in there. He never hesitates.
Oh, what a great walking lead. Didn't need a coach. He is a very impressive young player. He read that pitch out of Tanana's hand. Saw it's going to be a breaking ball from his vantage point. Saw the break. Heath did all he could. Got down, kept the glove down. He had a walking lead and just burst in there. It didn't go that far from him, but Gagne made it. Now the infield's forced in by Gagne's alert base running.
Scored a wild pitch. And here's Brookins fielding it, looking Gagne back and taking care of Lautner.
A very valuable little guy. We talked about Darnell Coles, who Sparky Anderson, when he started Coles down there, Coles had all the airs. Then he got injured, got booed a lot here, and they finally sent him off. He wasn't going to play anymore here. But last year, Sparky Anderson talked about Coles being his 5th place hitter. He drove in over 80 runs last year. But Brookins just keeps popping back up year after year, doesn't he?
Infield in for Gladden. That's a strike. Tonight, Dan's been hit by a pitch, struck out, and grounded to Brookins.
When a guy winds up, it's always a little easier to pull a squeeze play. Minnesota doesn't do it very often.
It didn't roll away far enough.
But you see the squeeze play so infrequently in this league, the Big Inning League, as opposed to the National League.
And the two teams we're seeing in the playoffs over in the other league, Roger Craig with the Giants, Whitey Herzog with the Cardinals, they'll squeeze all day and night. Play a different style in the American League. Both these clubs top 200 homers. On 0-2. He hit him again. The last thing he had in mind. Boy, what a weird game.
No balls, 2 strikes. He's trying to get the ball to pop him up or strike him out. And I believe we might see a pinch hitter here now already for Al Newman. Oh, what a deftly pitch for him.
The 3rd hit batter for Tanana. He's also thrown a wild pitch, and he's walked 3. Make it 4. He's walked 4 tonight. Control's supposed to be the name of his game.
So now the switch hitter, Gene Larkin's going to come up. Pinch hit. Larkin with a couple of 100 RBI seasons in the minor leagues. DH'd a lot. Then they got Baylor. He filled in DHing quite a bit. Bush against right-handed pitchers. Going over the scouting reports, what they're doing on Larkin. They have not seen a whole lot of him, so Heath went out, knew the report, how to pitch, and then they conversed and said how they're going to play him. Straight away to pull, what they're going to try and get him out with. And Trammell now looking in, seeing what do you want to do, Sparky? Move back in the middle for the double play or stay in, and he's moving him back for the double play now.
This will be Larkin's first at-bat in the series. Now Roy Smalley is the only non-pitcher Tom Kelly hasn't used. 2 on, 1 out. Tell you what, Heath has really earned his keep in this series behind the plate. Remember the tough time he had with Morris in Game 2. He must have blocked a half-dozen potential wild pitches. He saved Tanana a few times tonight. 1 has gotten away. Hard shot, extra base hit by the diving Brookins. 1 run in. And they'll have runners at second and third as Larkin comes through with a pinch hit double. Well, he didn't take long to make his presence felt.
Wonder if Sparky thought, you look at the numbers, Larkin hitting much higher from the right side than the left. He's a switch hitter. Sparky had brought Petrie in. He would have turned around, and of course from the left side it would have been tougher to double him up than the right. Tanana can hold the runner a little bit closer to first base, so the factors in there. Sparky decided to stay with Tanana. Did he stay too long? We'll be back with Petrie coming on. During the regular season, batting right-handed, Larkin drove in 9 runs and 77 at-bats. He pops up as a pinch hitter for Tom Kelly, and he rifles one in the corner for a very big base hit off Tanana.
Gagne scored. Gladden moved on to third. And Lombardozzi, who was going to come in anyway since Larkin had hit for Newman. Lombo comes in to pinch run, and he'll stay in the game as the second baseman.
And the infield's going to have to stay in.
Against Puckett, who has flied to right, homered, and singled. Petrie trying to keep it close. First base open, but Gaetti on deck. It's the first one to Brookins. It's a fair ball. The runner's hold, and he throws him out.
Not the easiest play when the ball went over the runner at third base.
Tell you what, Brookins is 0 for 11 at the plate, but he has been flawless in the field.
This is the kind of pitching staff you get a lot of opportunities at third. Morris's forkball, Tanana's off-speed stuff, Terrell's sinker ball, Doyle Alexander with his off-speed pitches. Minnesota team in the first 3 games has got a lot of big 2-out base hits. Gaetti got one yesterday to right field to drive in 2 after the intensity walked Herbeck. They've really come through in the clutch in these first 3 games with 2 outs.
Gaetti 0 for 2 with a sac fly. Swing and a miss. Dan Petrie won 15 or more 4 consecutive years for the Tigers between 82 and 85. With a high of 19 victories in 83, and then he went 18 and 8 the next year.
No ball, 2 strike hit by pitch by Tanana came back to haunt him.
Slow roll at Trammell. The Twins will settle for 1 as Petrie comes in and gets them out of the jam. Bob Costas back with Tony Kubek at Tiger Stadium. Check the runners left on base. The Twins have already stranded 9. The Tigers got 1 run in the first and 1 in the 5th and left the bases loaded against Viola in each of those innings. In between, in the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, he retired the side in order. Lombardozzi is the new second baseman. And Lemon takes a strike.
And Tom Kelly has a little soft tossing going on in the bullpen. And Case, Frank Viola, Peters out on him, although he threw the first 2 pitches very, very hard. When a manager, and there's Keith Atherton again, just soft tossing in Case. He gets in trouble. He'd like to get an inning or 2 from him, and he still, I believe, would close with Reardon if it got that far. Tom Kelly didn't just make the decision on his own to go with a 3-day rest rotation now. He went to Dick Such, looked at all the pitching charts, how many pitches thrown, how hard were the pitches he threw, what teams he pitched against, how many times he pitched for 3 before. Then he went to Viola and said, "What do you think?" And he said he could do it.
Lemon swung at what might have been ball 4.
If the pitcher doesn't believe in it, I don't care what you tell him. He's not going to do it.
I guess it might have been ball 4 if there had been a 3-ball count before that. But since I misread it, it's 2-2. And now it's 4. That was Viola's 100th pitch. Payoff to Lemon. Hit into center field. Puckett coming on. Won't get there. Leadoff single. Dick Trzeski greets him down at first. Evans with 34 this year is the tying run at the plate.
The 4 for 11 isn't a true indicator, though, with all the bases on balls he's taken to keep things going.
A broken bat bloop down the right field line, in there. Lemon speeds to third. Runners at the corners, nobody out. Is that it?
Viola's second, third, and fourth innings were his best when his pitching pattern was off-speed pitches, curveball, and especially the sinker ball. When he got trouble in the first, fifth, and now in the sixth, he tried to throw overly hard. And even though he shattered the bat, you get the ball up there, it's down in the strike zone, it's a weak ground ball. Up there, you've got the natural loft.
Kelly didn't come to chat. He wants the ball. And he'll give it to Atherton. Five innings plus for Viola.
More often than not, Darrell Evans takes a lot of pitches and works the pitcher. He tried to surprise Viola, jumped on the first pitch fastball, broke his bat, but he found a little hole in the right field corner. And to show you the intensity of play in League Championship Series, you watch Chet Lemon.
But you know, Lemon just loves to do this. In his next life, he wants to be Greg Louganis. He dives into first. There's no play. He goes headlong into third. He's just a kid having fun.
Now with Atherton on, they're going to pinch hit for Tom Brookins.
With Dave Bergman.
Regular season, Atherton 7-5, ERA about 4.5. Walked a little too many. His home runs to innings pitched a little too high, but Tom Kelly said when he's used right, he was very effective. He found out you couldn't pitch him too many days in a row.
Bergman had a sac fly as a pinch hitter in game one. Ball one high.
This crowd's got to be a little nerve-wracking right now. It's a man whose appearance in this situation on the road. A veteran hitter like Bergman can pull the ball.
Which he does down the right field line. It's not very deep there. Foul ball.
Now, don't let that 325 sign fool you in the right field corner. Just above it, you don't have to hit it so far. It's the famous overhang. I guess about 10 feet out over into the playing field. This when you think you got a chance to make a catch on a high fly ball, the upper deck catches it.
Four-two Twins, last half of the sixth. Tiger runners at first and third, nobody out. Bergman batting for Brookins. Opposite field base hit. They're within one. Lemon scores. Evans stops at second. 3 straight singles for Detroit.
Dave did a slider up in the strike zone, went the other way with it. What they are talking about, I believe, with nobody out, with Heath up, Sparky's not going to put Noakes up right now. They're talking about the different possibilities of the bunt situation. What they're going to do. Will they go for the sure out at first, try to go around the horn, double play? Will Gagne come over with a slow runner, Evans at second base, Gaetti charge, and Gagne come over to third base? It's all in the event he bunts.
thinks he's going to do, but he takes outside.
The rotation was the normal rotation. Third baseman holds his spot. Let's Herbeck and Atherton take charge, and short to second, second to first. See if they now, with signs from Gaetti touching the bill of his cap, if they have a different rotation to try and get a slow runner in Evans. Sparky may fool it all. They start moving too soon. He may have Heath decoy a butt and chop the ball through. We'll find out.
Squares around and takes low. Working to Heath. 3-0. Whitaker on deck. Just taking, and there it is. 3-1.
Now the Minnesota defense has got to make some decisions in a hurry. They're looking at Tom Kelly, flash signs to Gaetti. 3-1. He could be swinging all the way, and yet they've still got to cheat it enough and shade toward the middle, and then he does bunt. Gaetti shading toward the middle, holding the runner.
And he drops a bunt, and it's a good one. Gaetti bare hands and throws him out with Lombardozzi covering. Heath moves the tying run to third, the go-ahead run to second with one out.
Couldn't have executed better, could he? Made Gaetti feel it, made him leave his position, so he couldn't get a slow runner going in the third. Gaetti and Herbeck will come in at the corners for Lou Whitaker. Now, Kelly is signaling Gagne to go out to Atherton to buy some time for Berenguer.
But Al Clark will have none of it. He's coming out to the mound to say, come on, let's work. Berenguer, meanwhile, heats up. What Kelly had in mind. A little filibuster by Gagne, but he wasn't going to let him throw a pitch to Whitaker. And now Kelly will take as long as he can before the inevitable occurs. Berenguer. Not the people's choice in Detroit. There is no one Tiger fans would rather see relinquish a lead than Juan Berenguer.
If you missed yesterday, and here's what happened Berenguer's last game in Minnesota, when he put his act down, which Tom Kelly said he didn't like. Berenguer was asked to go apologize, and yesterday Sparky pulled a little gamesmanship. After the players were introduced, he asked Tom Kelly if he could do it. He walked over to the first base foul line, put his arms around Berenguer and said, son, I forgive you, etc., etc. But he was playing a game, knowing that in front of this crowd, Berenguer dare not do what he did in Minnesota. And he thinks it may take a little bit of his enthusiasm, maybe some of his speed away.
Berenguer struck out 5 of the first 6 men he faced in this series. He could use the strikeout here.
Tight at the corners.
Throw to third. Out! They got Evans! Oh, and it doesn't happen often to an experienced base runner like Darrell.
It was a play that was caught. I would almost guess that when Kelly went out, he said, look, let's try it. It may get us out of a deep hole. So he had a time play on with a certain pitch. Laudner to Gaetti. You can see Gaetti's moving almost before the ball's left his hand. It was close, but I believe he just nipped him.
Evans is not fast, but he is an excellent heady base runner. A 40-year-old player, a veteran, man in a tight spot. I doubt that has happened to him.
Joe Brinkman, the third base umpire, had a helmet come out of the dugout. Don't know if it was Evans or somebody else's. In regular season, that would be an ejection.
Now they need a hit from Whitaker to tie the game.
What a play by Laudner and Gaetti.
Wow. And now this one gets away. And down to third trots Bergman. But with 2 out. This is going to haunt Evans if the Tigers lose this game by a run. The team leader. Look at the anguish on his face.
I saw the replays from 2 different angles, and it looked from one like he just barely touched him. Then you saw it from left center field, and the swipe by Gaetti was very close. There's going to be an argument either way, and I really couldn't tell from either replay. Looked like he just had him on one. But it should never have been that close. Not in the situation here, and you should never stray, especially a veteran player, that far to make it that close.
He had nothing to gain by doing so.
He was in sacrifice fly territory.
Whitaker now walks for the 3rd time tonight. The earlier pitch he scored a wild pitch against Berenguer. Morrison to the plate. Sparky might have had the Twins on the run until Laudner gunned Evans down. Strike 1 to Morrison, who's 1 for 3, a single his last time up. Speed pitch.
2 in a row. He hadn't thrown that. It looked more like a little slider breaking ball. It wasn't a forkball. He uses the forkball more to left-handed hitters. So when they're sitting on heat, which he showed them in Minnesota, and his appearance here, he's snapping off some breaking stuff.
Here's the 0-2. Another breaking ball inside. Bergman at third, Whitaker at first. 2 out and a run home in the 6th. 4-3 Twins. Center field, Puckett has to go back, and that does it. I can't get over it, but imagine how Evans feels. We'll be right back after these messages from your local station.
Used to tell us that, and he was right on the play, Joe Brinkman, with a great call and a tough one.
Evans has moved over to third base from first, and Bergman, who got a pinch hit, stays in the game at first base.
Look at Gaetti shuffling as the ball was on its way, trying to take some little stutter steps so he could get a better angle. The snap throw from Laudner, and he just got him. See how close Brinkman was. That's a tip-off on that play, right up on the bag, so Gaetti told him, here it comes, Joe, be ready. And he got him to play in good position.
0-2 to Baylor, starting it in the 7th. Brunansky and Herbeck. Petrie's pitch fouled off.
With a one-run lead, Tom Callie's not going to use Bush, his left-handed hitter, off the bench. There might have been other situations. If he's behind or tied, he might have taken his left-handed hit in DH. He's the only pure left-hander he's got left. He's got Roy Smalley, the switch hitter.
Bouncer to Trammell. Easy play. And Baylor is out. Well, both Sparky and Kelly have had pinch hitters come through for them in this game. Larkin delivered a big pinch double in the 6th for the Twins. And in the bottom half of the inning, Bergman a pinch single for the Tigers. He hit for Brookins, who's out of the game, of course. And Bergman stays in at first. Evans playing in Brookins' spot now.
They didn't just get that man. Same way the Yankees in Boston didn't just get that man for his bat. I'm talking about Don Baylor. They got him for that crazy word presence, which he added to this team in September, even though he didn't produce a lot of runs for them like they thought he would.
Brunansky 0 for 1 with a couple of walks, takes a ball. The Tigers now give something up defensively at third, with Evans in place of Brookins. Petrie has not been the same since elbow surgery.
He feels he's throwing the same as hard. He just can't get the slider to snap as much, and basically it's been controlled.
Lefty and a righty. Southpaw Thurman, right-hander Eric King for Sparky Anderson. And a strike to Brunansky.
When Petrie can control it, he's got one of the best sliders in the business. A lot of years when Jack Morris got a lot of publicity, he should have, because he's won more games than anybody in the 80s, but he was always short-sighted. Or slided, rather than short-sighted.
Whatever.
Makes sense. What would the other?
Full count. We're in the top of the 7th. 4-3 Minnesota. Down goes Brunansky. Whichever team loses this will have plenty of squandered chances to lament. The Twins have had at least one man left on in every inning. This could be the first in which they're retired in order unless Herbeck reaches. Meanwhile, the Tigers left the bases loaded in 2 of the 3 innings in which they scored single runs and got a run in the 6th while leaving 2 and had Evans picked off third with only 1 out. Center field, ranges over into left center, and has it. Gibson, Trammell. Game 4 of the 1987 American League Championship Series is brought to you by your Toyota dealer. Quality right down the line. Who could ask for anything more? And by Miller Genuine Draft Cold Filter Draft Beer. It's as real as it gets. As you look at the line score, the Tigers have turned 3 potentially big innings into single-run innings in some of the weirdest ways.
With all that's at stake, if the Tigers should not be able to come back, in Sparky Anderson's words, it'd be impossible if we lose tonight. You're going to see the players get a little testier with the umpire, and that's what Gibson's doing right now. Herbeck at first right on the line. He's not going to let a ball get between him and that line for a double. That's the pitch Behringer needs when he doesn't have his great fastball or when he's overworked. He needs the forkball to the big left-handed hitters.
1-1 to Gibson. With all the fuss over Behringer's mound theatrics, another precinct was heard from. Aurelio Lopez. Senor Smoke, his old teammate, called him from Mexico after the first game. He said, "How many times have I told you, don't do that?" Juan said, "I can't help it." Although not in those words, since I'm sure they conversed in Spanish. 2-2.
That was a forkball. He got Gibson looking with a forkball the other day on the 3-2 count that just exploded. And if he can get the forkball over, the fastball, if there's a little bit off from the work yesterday, will look better. He's in the 90s somewhere, low 90s, especially that last pitch. Up in the strike zone, his ball appears to take off. But all his career, he's had those problems where he can get awfully wild.
Second straight time, Gibson has stepped out. For Sparky. Yeah, Trammell's his cleanup man, but an unusual cleanup man. A contact hitter who you can hit and run with. Gibson at first, he stole 26.
He stole a couple yesterday, so his legs are well, and it's another weapon that Sparky has. I would believe that Trammell may let him go. Try and get off on the high leg kick of Behringer.
Not going. Trammell broke his bat on that one.
Trammell was not sure coming out of spring training whether the cleanup spot was for him. Sparky said, "Look, we'll try it. If you don't like it after a while, we'll pull out of it and find somebody else." Sparky convinced him, said, "Right now, you're the best guy I can think of with all you can do." And now that Trammell over the last few years has been hitting more and more home runs, and Trammell is willing to make the adjustment, move up on the plate, pull the ball on occasion more often. Through one heck of a year on the board, but he's struggled in these big championship series thus far.
First Tiger shortstop in about a half century to drive in better than 100 runs. The last to do it, Billy Rogel, threw out the first ball tonight. The 0-1 pitch. Gaetti gets one. Lombardozzi turns it over to Herbeck.
Lombardozzi turned it over with a lot of pressure with that speed and football talent of Gibson barreling into him. Boy, was Lombardozzi quick. And that's something you can start a movement and replace him with a defensive whiz like Lombardozzi and watch Gibby pop up, take him out, and he still turned it. Not too bad for shortstop because he's right in front of him. When you get that ball like Lombardozzi just did with your back to him, it's tough. And he just stayed relaxed, didn't plant his left foot, and fell right down on top. And he relaxed completely so he wouldn't get hurt.
Turned it. Ball one, his last time up with the bases loaded and 2 out in the 5th. He hit one about as hard as you can hit a ball. Right at Gaetti to end the inning. Gagne from deep short. That'll do it. The Tigers Tigers are 6 outs away from falling behind 3-1. But they did it in the 8th yesterday. We'll be back. This telecast is presented by authority of Major League Baseball. May not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form without the express written consent of Major League Baseball. One of the game's stars, despite a first-inning error, advances to the plate. Gagne has a homer and a double the one time they retired him. He hit the ball hard to Gibson and left. He's been aggressive on the bases. He's also turned in some good plays in the field after the first-inning error, which was a tough error to have charged to him anyway. This one is picked off by Petrie. He loses his balance a little bit, but throws him out. The error that was charged to Gagne in the first was on a slow roller by Lemon, where he had to make a nearly perfect play to get him, and he threw high and pulled Herbeck off the bat.
Petrie pretty much is stuck with sliders to the right-handed hitters. This squibs off the end of the bat.
Thus far, Petrie has done his job, which was to hold the fort, give his team a chance to come back. Came on with 1 out in the 6th after Larkin's pinch hit double and made it 4-2 and chased Tanana. And Petrie has retired 6 in a row. Evans boots it, picks it up, might have time. Nope.
Out of position, as you mentioned earlier, and of course the arm is gone. DH some. Played first base today. It's almost a shame that to see Evans, who at one time was a very sure-handed and a good throwing arm third baseman, the place he was at, San Francisco, Atlanta. Even when he first came here, he's still a left-hander, but not at his age now.
Third error of the night. 2 for the Tigers. 1 for the Twins through the first 3 games. Each team had committed only 1 error. Gladden's 0 for 2 and has twice been hit by a pitch. It bounces away from Heath. And you should have seen the look on his face as he took off his mask. He has been down and dirty almost throughout the series. He can't save his pitchers every time.
There have been a lot of things falling apart for this Tiger team today. Tanana pitching from behind, struggling along. Evans getting picked off the air. A couple home runs. Wild pitch now, and yet the Chavaliers that have played, it shows what happens to the Minnesota Twins on the road. They just don't seem to be able to take advantage of all the base runners they've had and the mistakes the Tigers have made so far tonight. I would think, Bob, that when you have the worst road record in the game, you've won only 9 games on the road since the All-Star break, there's always something in the back of your mind as if you're waiting for something to happen. They just, for some reason, Tom Kelly can't get him over the hump on the road. To this point, he sure wish he'd find a way tonight.
Two and 0 to Gladden. On the other hand, the Tigers certainly haven't fully seized their opportunities either. This could be about an 8-7 game. Instead, 4-3 Minnesota.
After 162, the bats get a little heavier. The pressure gets pretty extreme, and anytime the pressure gets to what it is in these postseason games, it affects hitters, I believe, more than pitchers who are in constant action.
2-2.
Just gets tougher to hit.
good left fielder and leadoff man. He replaced Mickey Hatcher as the clubhouse prankster. He keeps them all loose. Slow roller to second. Whitaker will throw him out. Moving on to third is Laudner with 2 down.
They needed another prankster with Herbeck, Bernansky, the wrestling twins.
Well, he got both of us before the first game with the old shaving cream on the phone trick.
Who got you?
Gladden got me.
Rick Rennick got us both, the third base coach, and blamed Gladden.
That's the first I learned of the true culprit.
They got Harlan Kilber right after they got us.
Telephone call from Mr. Kubek. Hold that baby to your ear. And it's that sophisticated kind of humor that, yes, that David Niven touch that we all appreciate.
Whoopee cushions and hand buzzers.
You got it. Lombardozzi for his first at-bat.
Evans got to be careful in third. If he tries to drop the bunt out, Evans is creeping in. Try and score that run.
Petrie does not want to face Puckett. He wants to decide it and finish it right here with Lombardozzi.
Heath keeps looking into the dugout, which may be an indication that in this situation, Sparky wants to call pitches.
3-0. Over to the Tiger dugout. Billy Muffet, the pitcher coach, is next to Sparky. Lombardozzi will be taking, and that's a strike. Laudner has gotten as far as third, courtesy of an Evans error, a Petrie wild pitch, and an advancing ground out. Twins don't have a hit off Petrie yet. Now they do, and there's another one. Brookins might have fielded.
There was a bullet, but it just went underneath the glove. Again, Evans creeping in, playing shallow because you saw what has happened to his throwing arm. Couldn't throw across the diamond after he knocked Laudner's ball down, even though Laudner very slow running. And so he has to play shallow because of his arm. And the ball was out of much more quickly.
It's ruled a hit, but it's a pretty safe bet that had Brookins been the third baseman, this would have been an uneventful inning. Ball 1 to Puckett. So a little breathing room for the Twins. 5-3. Puckett's 2 for 4 with a homer and a single. This can be a very cruel game. Darrell Evans had a remarkable season at the age of 40. No one at that age has ever hit as many home runs, or since 1900 driven in as many runs as Evans did this year, and a leader on the ball club. But tonight has been a nightmare. Picked off third when he represented the tying run with just 1 out, and 2 balls that a better, younger third baseman probably would have handled in this inning, as the Twins get an insurance run. And And because first and last impressions linger, it's possible people will remember that about Darrell Evans if the Tigers don't win this playoff and longer than they remember all the great moments he gave them this summer.
And with a 24-man roster, you can't keep the pinch runner or the defensive specialist, which may have come in handy if you got 25 like they had a couple of years ago. That's back to Al Newman, who's played off so many positions. He's a one-man gang.
Up the middle, Whitaker backhands it, has to go to first, and gets Puckett. A terrific play by Whitaker. Evans is the second batter in the bottom of the eighth. A chance to atone, especially if they can put a man aboard ahead of him. Reardon begins to soft toss. He's been a hero and a goat once each in this series. It's Berenguer for now. Ball 1 to Lemon. We said yesterday that the Twins wouldn't be in such bad shape if they could only win 1 of 3 here. Obviously, they believed they were capable of more. But just 1 of 3 sends them back home with a 3-2 lead. 2-0 and forces the Tigers to sweep them at the Metrodome, which is very difficult to do.
Tom Cali looking for one more inning from Berenguer. He would love to finish up with Reardon, but he again does not want to push Reardon 2 innings. Unless he absolutely has to.
3-0.
Schatzinger went over 3 innings yesterday and pitched brilliantly.
A pitch away from making Evans the tying run at the plate.
Two runs down. Sparky may have him take 2 strikes.
Come back, Chet. Well, earlier in this game, we saw Dan Gladden contend he was hit by a pitch. Al Clark overruled him, brought him back, and then he was hit by the next one. In the National League Series, Robbie Thompson said he was hit by a pitch. No, they said, although the replay seemed to indicate he was.
You do that in the regular season, and you'd have a lot of trouble with the home plate umpire. He'd challenge you. He's showing him up.
Oh,
there it is.
Strike.
It sure is. It had more than the outer edge, and it was more than high enough. He was taking you all the way, and he was going to try and jump out of it and see if he could buy one from Clark.
This ball's hit to left. Gladden has room and the ball. They ought to want him back. And only a very few boos greeted the announcement of Evans' name. And anybody who booed this guy in this park has a short memory and no appreciation of what a great ball player this guy has been. One and one.
Well, when Mike Henneman struggled in Game 1, it was Evans who finally went to his locker, got him aside to console him. Sparky can do it, but if another player does, it means a lot more. He's been that type of influence. Matt Nopes, boy, he's done so much for Nopes.
Jeff Hinson in the foreground, Mike Heath next to him, and Sparky behind them. Foul ball. Over the roof and into the street. Berenguer was behind Lemon 3-0 and came back to get him on a fly to left. Otherwise, Evans would be the tying run at the plate. Now it's 3-2 to him. Berenguer made Evans wait too long. Now Darrell back in. And he gets under one and pops it into shallow right. Brunansky in. The Twins are 4 outs from a 3-1 lead in this series. Bergman's 1 for 1, a pinch single. Each time Sparky has sent him up off the bench, he's come through. A sacrifice fly in the first game, a single in this one.
You know, you don't realize how valuable a guy like Juan Berenguer is. Now, he had some arm problems for a while and was out, but a rubber arm guy like this can save a bullpen for you. Can come back day after day, pitch him 2 innings, 3 days in a row, doesn't bother him. He's a bullpen saver. It's a matter of when he can't throw strikes, works the other way. But you know you're not going to hurt his arm. He's thrown a lot all his life.
Bergman's taking, trying to distract him by flashing the bunt. 2-1. If Bergman reaches, almost certainly, Noakes will bat for Heath to give them more of a home run threat. 3-1. Madlock's a question mark with the swollen left hand.
He took hitting early today off Jim Morrison. Swung the bat fairly well, and Sparky said, we're going to give it at least 1 more day's rest unless I need you to go up there for 1 at bat.
The 3-1. He went full to Evans and to Lemon and got them both. Now it's 3-2 to Bergman.
Well, Sparky did try to do a sight job, as we indicated earlier, on Berenguer. It sure didn't hurt his velocity. He's still throwing the ball pretty high.
Bergman. Yes, he went around. Obviously, it was ball 4, but he swung at it.
That ball really took off. It was high, which is the pitch you want to lay off, but it sailed in and just took off.
Berenguer might have set it up for Reardon to come in and try and get the save in the 9th.
Hardest pitch he's thrown, right there. Well.
Yeah. He hopes Sparky wasn't looking.
Uh-huh.
Well, tomorrow at 3 Eastern Time, Doyle Alexander for the Tigers. Maybe Bert Blyleven for the Twins, but if they hold on here, as we said earlier, I guess Kelly could go to Niekro and then get Blyleven fully rested for a Game 6 if they don't wrap it up.
Bob, from all indications, and he told people time and time again before the ball game, I said Blyleven, and it's Blyleven. And he says, why do you keep asking me? Now, maybe it'll happen, but I don't think so. It's going to be Blyleven. The man told us that. But I would think, and I can see your reasoning, why wouldn't Tom Kelly try and give Bert that extra rest? He knows he's going to have at least 2 that Sparky's going to have to win in that dome where they've got the best record in baseball.
All right, sake of argument. Let's say that it is Blyleven tomorrow. And the Twins lose the game, and they go back with a 3-2 edge. And this is also assuming they win here tonight. It's all very speculative. In the 6th game, with Viola ready on 3 days rest, is it Straker or might he pitch Niekro?
Straker, and then Viola if it goes 7. He could change, but
if we see
very
Niekro,
adamant. He said, I just don't, we're too short. He said, I've been struggling to get a 3rd starter, Straker, let alone searching around for a 4th starter who's struggling with a knuckleball at the end, Joe Niekro.
So if we see Niekro at all, it would be in relief. And that, you think, is unlikely. A strike on the outside corner to Gaetti, who will be followed by Baylor and Brunansky in the 9th. And now Al Clark wants to see the baseball from Petrie. I tell you, the Twins really have no pitching depth in the starting department. Their team earned run average of 4.63 is the highest ever for a first-place team. Not just in divisional history, but since 1900. Reardon is ready.
Again, like he did yesterday, he stopped loosening them up very early. Apparently, it's just the way he likes to do it. No outs in this inning. If he's coming in, he's going to be there, and then they go out and just get his few warm-up pitches in this cool night.
Evans with another chance on the short hop. That was a good play.
See him cheating in just a little bit again. Short hop it. Gaetti topping the ball, doesn't get a good jump out of the box. You know, Gaetti, we're talking about people playing with injuries. We've mentioned Herbeck. We mentioned some other people. But Gaetti's been playing with a little damaged hands also and trying to play right through it. It goes with playing 162 games and the endurance contest baseball's become.
As we've said repeatedly, the worst road record of any division or pennant winner ever. The highest team ERA for a winner ever. Baylor hits it softly into right. Herndon makes the catch. 2 out. If the Twins pull this off, it'll be one of baseball's biggest upsets, no doubt about it, against the team that won more games than any other in baseball this year. 13 more than the Twins did. Brunansky takes a ball. To put it in perspective, Viola, tonight's starter, with that excellent ERA of 2.90, the league's second best. They had nobody else under 4 on the entire staff. 2-0.
Well, we've talked so much about the Twins' lack of ability to win on the road, but we always forget their incredible record at home and how difficult it is for teams coming in together. And it's just, they know, and the comfort thing they have is they know they've got at least one game that they can win there, and if they win this one, they just got to feel that Sparky cannot go in there with his ball club and win 2. Have to sweep it.
Another chance for Evans. Picks it up. Bergman can't miss the tag.
I think he missed first base. I think when he tried to avoid the tag, he jumped right over the first base bag, and that's why Bergman stepped on the bag and said, hey, he hadn't touched it yet. He didn't get there. So even though he argued first that he tagged him, even if he hadn't, it looked like he leapt right over the bag, and Mike Riley, the first base umper, was watching the tag. So he couldn't be watching the tag up high, and Spike said, okay, now let's get somebody who's got a better angle. second base umpire, Jim McKean, or hoping to tell. He said, you can't watch both. Watching upstairs for the tag, you can't be watching whether you touch the bag. Somebody's better help you. He's going to ask him to ask somebody else. Clark gets Mike Keith away to keep things down. He said, you don't use it. Were we watching the bag or were we watching the tag? Here it is. Pulls him off.
Got him on the knee, it looked like.
But I don't know if he did. Now, here's the thing. Watch this. He missed the bag by a foot, and now Bergman stepped on the bag. The man's out. The second base umpire really, when he's not being asked, Riley's saying, I saw it. So if Riley wanted to, and to get it right, he should have asked the second base umpire, who probably had a better view. You see it here.
Well, Bergman's 100% right. If he didn't tag him, and he might have.
Now watch Bergman. Sees when he's looking down right at the bag body, and now he says he missed it. Now, Riley's saying you missed the tag, and he cannot in any way watch both. Watch 5 feet above the ground and at the ground level.
Brunansky knew he missed the bag, too.
Sure.
He immediately started back to try and retouch.
Yeah.
Well, Petrie leaves with the left-handed hitter Herbeck do, and they'll bring in Thurman to pitch to him. The play, unfortunately, is scored E5.
Mark Thurman has been a lost man really since the end of the season. For a while, Sparky talked about making his left-handed closer. Here it is again from another angle. Bergman drawn off the bag as the throw tails. Bergman knows he missed the tag. He doesn't argue at all. He's saying, you missed the bag. This is one of those where I think Mike Riley should have asked. And another umpire can't come in and say, well, yeah, he missed it. I don't know why. If it's that obvious, another umpire ought to be able to go in there and say, look, let's get it right. Let's have a 4-man conference. Did any of us see it a different way? And that would be the right way to do it. And I got to believe, I don't know if Al Clark, I think he could see it. He's looking right down the line. Jim McKean in second could have certainly seen it, perhaps from his angle. So they could have helped Riley out. Riley was adamant. He said, I saw the thing all the way. Of course, it wasn't the right call.
There's Sparky. He missed it by that much, and he's right.
Yeah, somebody came down to the clubhouse and looked at him. Monitor out there. There you see he misses the swipe tag by about 4 or 5 inches. Riley says you missed him, and Riley... Well.
The first angle we saw where it looked like he might have tagged him on the knee, the problem with that was no depth perception on that angle. Then you could see on the subsequent ones that he had in fact missed him, which of course is one of the great problems when people talk about using instant replay, which is questionable as to how effective it is in football and would probably be a disaster in baseball. Here we were lucky enough to have not that angle, which was not revealing, but a better angle on the tag. If that had been the only thing at issue, we could have settled it with instant replay. But remember, this is a postseason game with lots and lots of cameras. You want to use this during regular season in baseball. There's some games that aren't even televised and others with just 4 cameras, some with 8. You can't always get it right.
I still don't believe instant replay to work in baseball because the ball travels too fast. A lot of times you see that white trailer and the ball's actually in the glove, and the replay with the lens speeds looks like it's out a foot from the glove, and that's that white trailer when the ball's actually in the glove from a lot of different angles. So I don't think replay works when the ball's traveling 95 miles an hour and faster.
Plus, it's baseball. Any further intrusion of technology is totally unwelcome. Now I know I've just increased the size of my mailbag. Herbeck with Brunansky at first. Fouls it off.
Thurman just 0-1 during the regular season. ERA of 4.23. Doesn't have great stuff. He usually throws strikes. Sparky used them almost exclusively when he has, and that wasn't much in September during the pennant run. The slider, sinker ball. Pitched for the Padres in that '84 season when they were beaten easily by this Tiger team. He just nibbles and walks too many and gets himself in trouble. Then he's got to come in and gets hurt. Here's the interesting thing about the misadventures for Evans at third base.
other than Brookins, for whom he had to hit. Sparky's third basemen are his DHs. Matlock is hurt and questionable. Morrison is in the game as the DH. So he was forced to move Evans across the diamond, and it's really burned him.
Well, there are times when Noakes is catching that he's used Mike Heath. A little bit of second base, third base played short, played some outfield, and of course he catches.
Two and two to Herbeck. 0 for 4 in this game, 1 for 14 in the series. In the last half of the ninth, Heath is scheduled to lead off, might not bat. Whitaker and then Morrison scheduled to follow.
You remember Jeff Reardon, after the argument, in the dugout or clubhouse for another extended period of time. Stopped throwing quite a while ago, came in with his jacket, presuming that he's coming to the game. Did this yesterday and didn't look like he came out with his top-notch stuff.
Full count.
Jeff. I would think coming in today, he's going to work a few more breaking balls in rather than just try and throw the heat. Found out in this light here, even at night, you can see his fastball better than the dome.
Trammell comes in. Herbeck's frustrations continue. 3 outs away from a 3-1 lead. Reardon off with the jacket and into the game. Picture we saw yesterday before we left you was a dejected Jeff Reardon sitting on the bench. He's had more than 24 hours to forget. Johnny Grubb will start it by batting for Heath. They'll hold Noakes back and hope to get a man on base and maybe use Noakes to bat for Morrison. Grubb is 39 years old. He's been with San Diego, Cleveland, and Texas. Now in his 5th year with the Tigers. Reardon starts him with a strike. Grubb hit just .202 this year in 64 at-bats after a big 86 that saw him hit .333 with 13 homers in part-time duty. 1-1. Liner to center. The tying run will come to the plate.
Sheridan will come on to run for Grubb. It's a different move of Sparky feeling that Grubb could either take a base on balls. Grubb had a big year last year as a DH. This year used very sparingly, so Sparky used the speed of Sheridan out at first base. And of course, as Bob said, he still has Noakes. One of those days, I believe that Reardon is going to have to get his curveball over and make some good pitches with it, even to the left-handed hitters that Sparky's got. Just try and throw fastballs. If the edge is a little gone, they've got those right field seats.
For the moment, Morrison is on the on-deck circle. But Noakes will be ready. Whitaker tries to push a bunt. Gaetti wasn't fooled. He was breathing right down his neck. Had it been fair, that had no chance to be successful.
Now, if these two men stay on, Morrison wasn't there because he would probably sacrifice to get him in the scoring position, that he still saved Noakes for later. If Whitaker doesn't get out, you'll see Noakes in a hurry. He'll run two runs fast with a possible home run.
Whitaker has reached the seats 16 times. Plus once in the playoff. Reardon's ahead of him 1-2.
Whitaker's also grounded into 17 double plays this year. Herbeck playing behind the runner at first place. The run means nothing. Guarding the line. Giving himself more room down there to cover ground at first.
Still 1-2.
It's hard to set a guy like Whitaker up. He's throwing him breaking ball, and just when you think you've got him set up for a fastball, Lou's such a good fastball hitter, he can still turn on you. You can see how defensive he was in the breaking ball, just at the end trying to wait and just flicked it off. He's got fastball in his mind at all times.
Twins last of the ninth. And a pop-up. Gagne has it. Morrison heads for the dugout, and Noakes comes out to bat for him.
He got a fastball, and Whitaker had a good swing, but he was just underneath it.
32 homers during the regular season. 29 of them off right-handed pitching.
He's 1 for 8 so far in the ALCS.
Folks here tonight rooting for the Twins, the Minnesota Wild, with the Homer Hankies and the Wizards. But only Tiger fans are hoping to salute a homer here.
Another fastball hitter than Matt Noakes. Reardon may try and start him out with breaking stuff. They can hit that.
Unless Noakes hits into a double play, the Tigers have 2 cracks at it with home run hitters from the left side. Gibson is next. Ball 1. Speed it in there.
That's the weapon Reardon has when he pitches a few days in a row that he's had to come up with when the edge is off his fastball. The curve. Noakes had breaking ball in his mind, took a fastball, looked like it was right down the middle.
Oh, that didn't miss by much.
He went with a different kind of breaking ball. He'd been snapping it off inside. This one he starts outside to try and backdoor it. And he made a pretty good pitch, and that is an awfully close pitch to take for a hitter. 1-2.
You know what that pitch is?
Strike.
You're right.
Sure looked like it. Right where Laundry called for it, a backdoor breaking ball.
2-2. Strike 3.
Ooh, he had something on that fastball, but again, Noakes thinking curveball with the curves that Reardon was throwing.
It's all up to Gibson, who has an RBI single and a walk, officially 1 for 3 in the game.
Now, if you were Kirk Gibson and sitting in the on-deck circle in the dugout and saw Reardon try and get ahead of Whitaker with breaking balls, Noakes with breaking balls, and even though he's a fastball hitter, Gibson may take one shot, look for first pitch curveball. Let's see if Lawton and Reardon thinking the same way and they go the other way.
Foul back toward us.
Fastball out of the strike zone.
The Twins are 2 strikes from taking a stranglehold on this series.
Wow. With Sparky's team, if this holds up, having to win 2 of the 3 in the Metrodome.
1-1. Of course, they'll remind themselves that they won 4 in a row from Toronto when it counted. The last one in Toronto, then 3 straight here last weekend. And they'll try and psych themselves by saying Toronto was a better club. 1 strike away.
It's interesting. He hadn't thrown him a curveball yet. When he threw that fastball by Matt Noakes, it was almost as if it triggered Reardon saying, man, I got it today. And he's throwing as hard as he was in the Metrodome the other day.
Strike 3, that's it. Got him looking with the curveball. And the life of a reliever. Yesterday he didn't. Tonight Reardon did. Darrell Evans. Put the word professional beneath that man's name. But this might be the most nightmarish evening of his long and distinguished career.
A nice relief job by Barry Gare, setting it up for Reardon to come in and polish it off.
Puckett embraces Reardon. Kirby got him started with a home run tonight. The Twins have won 3 of the first 4. And we'll be back to Tiger Stadium in just a minute.